I wouldn't even risk it, bro. That's crazy.
Oh man.
Did you see any alligators out there? A lot of people go like they go on the in the swamps. You know, they go on those tours.
Bro, exactly, bro. I wish the hell I would. Shawn, if you don't move the picture from right there.
That's what people here now.
Man,
Oh man, here we go. Oh man, David is not talking. He must be he must be swimming with those alligators. Let's see. All right, cool. Looks like people are starting to come in. So I'm gonna give it a few more minutes. I got this on Facebook, YouTube, everything. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A, and then we can go over, any pairs you guys want us to look over, any calls that I made, this week, last week, or any of the K2 strategies. I know there's some new people here that want me to go over some of the strategies. So, um, feel free to put your questions in the Q&A, and then we can get started. But I'm gonna give it a few more minutes before we get started, and then uh, we can start looking at pairs and stuff. Um, but yeah, Aaron, are you looking at anything right now?
let's see. To be honest, I was looking at scalp and gold, but it's a little dead right now.
Yeah, no, I saw.
Gold would be in like a nice swing trade back to 2100, bro. But the drawdown is gonna be crazy. You know how gold is.
Yeah, that's why I don't even mess with it. Is Emmerich in here? And Emmerich doesn't want to talk about gold.
He's actually been doing pretty good at gold again. He started his account again with like I think he already doubled his account already. But I'm like, bro, just use risk management and stuff like that. Don't overtrade. And you live and you learn when it comes to forex, bro. But
Yeah,
makes you
exactly.
makes you a better trader.
Yep. But yeah, I don't really mess with gold anymore because I think it moves it moves a little weird. I mean, I'd rather just trade US 30 for more risk.
Yeah, true.
For gold.
But even
Uh,
US 30 hasn't really been moving like that. It's been moving, but like it hasn't been moving like how it was when like I'm so used to it moving fast, like how it was when the coronavirus had just started.
yeah,
It was
exactly.
about
Yeah,
time.
it,
Now
it
it's
kind of
like
slowed down. It slowed down a whole lot actually. Like since
moving
then.
like 4,000 points a day or something like that, bro. Now it's just moving like like we barely get TP and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Uh,
Yeah, before we were able to hit like 2,000, 3,000 pips easy. Now it's like we gotta wait the whole freaking day to hit like 1,500.
exactly.
Kevin said, "Hey, Shawn, US 30 is still a sell." Nah, it was never a sell. Well, not for me. We've been in a buy this whole day.
I think he may be referring to Wade's call. Wade is like a swing trader, so Wade is still holding that position probably.
Yeah, I think Wade's holding that long term, but we're in a buy. And it's been in profit. We already hit TP2 over here, and we're trying to, obviously reach full TP, probably by tonight. You can tell here it's been testing the K2 pivot. So I think once it breaks above the pivots right here, it's just gonna skyrocket up like it normally does. I still have it active, so I'm still anticipating a push up. I don't see any. I don't see it for a sell anytime soon. Also, because this sell signal right here was opposite. It's not a valid sell signal. So obviously, this sell signal right here was a valid, so it came down a little bit. But this is an invalid sell signal. So once we get a buy signal right here, I'm anticipating a shoot up. So um, not sure. Let's see. Uh, Kevin said, "What do you think about the Fed minutes tomorrow?" Um, I don't know. I don't really trade news because the thing is, regardless as to how the minutes are, the market will still move how it wants to. Regardless whether the minutes are good for the U.S. dollar or bad, it's still going to move the way that the institutions and the big players want to move it. I wouldn't base it off the minutes because we've had minutes before where the news is really bad, but it went in the opposite direction. So I mean, I personally wouldn't base anything off the minutes because there's just really no foundation to it because regardless, the news is going to be bad. We're still in COVID, stuff still isn't open 100%, and then we still have the presidential election too. Like I think the Democratic conference is still today, so that might affect the market, but I wouldn't worry too much about the FOMC minutes tomorrow. Or did they talk today? Because the minutes don't come until, let's see. Yeah, so the minutes come tomorrow at 11 a.m. The meeting is probably going to be in the morning around 7:30. You know, the price is probably going to move before the minutes. The minutes is just what happens after the meeting. You know, they just document everything that was discussed, but there's going to be hints that are going to come out during the day. So we might not even trade tomorrow morning. Well, not probably not the U.S. pairs and probably not U.S. 30, because as like hints come out, it's going to affect the market one way or another. Let's see. Lovely's asking, I'm glad I didn't move super fast today. I was able to make some money in my baby account. Yeah, no, it's crazy. When US 30 is spiking around, like, let's see. When's the last time it spiked around? So it spiked around like right here last week, or not, yeah, on the 14th. This was crazy when this happened. This dropped about, yeah, like 3,000 pips. These are like COVID conditions, like prime COVID conditions right here. But lately it's just moving pretty steady. It's moved like about 700 pips max per New York session, like right here. You know, this is where we entered. And then from our entry point right here, it only moved about 700, 800 pips. You know, not the full move. But right here, I do see it come up. Like you can see that it's a pretty clean trend line upwards. And that's what I see happening right here for US 30. So lovely. If you're in a buy with us, I think it looks good. I think once it breaks above the pivot and then it crosses over, it'll shoot up like it did right here. It's pretty much like the same, very similar setup. From right here, it came up. Once it crossed the pivots, it broke and retest right here, and then it shot straight up. That's kind of what's happening right here. I'm waiting for it to break, retest down, and then shoot straight up. So if you guys are showing this trade with us, looks great so far. I know Wade's in for a sell, but he's in it for swinging. So he's like on the 4-hour or 30-minute chart. So if you go on the 30-minute chart, you know, he's got a long way to go before it crosses the, actually he's probably on higher time frame, like the 4-hour. Actually, if you look on the swing charts, it's actually a buy, Kevin. So I'm not sure, you know, if it'd be a good hold. I think Wade's anticipating it to come down because he uses the moon phases. So let's look at the moon real quick. Yeah, so I think when it's a new, I don't know how the moon phases work, but I'm assuming just by looking at the chart, generally when it's a new moon like this, it's supposed to go up. When it's a full moon, it comes down. But it doesn't look like it's been following through past couple weeks. So this looks like it should have came down and went the opposite. This looks like it should have went up, came the opposite. And I think that's what Wade's anticipating, because he's anticipating, you know, the full moon makes it comes down. So right here, he's like anticipating that this is where the high was established, and then it's time for it to come down. But this is a little bit of a risky trade, because the thing is, this moon has been going for a long time. So if we get a new moon right here, then we can actually anticipate this to shoot on upwards. But Wade has the dates for that. I don't trade moon phases, so if you want to talk about moon phases, you should probably talk to Wade about it. But just, you know, just looking at it from a bird's eye perspective, it looks like, yeah, generally when it's a new moon, it's supposed to go up. When it's a full moon, it comes down. It's just lately the market hasn't been following those specific rules. Like right here was a new moon. Well, I guess it did come up. So you see right here, the new moon started and it came up and then it came down. Right here's the full moon. So it came up, and then this is where Wade anticipated to come down. There was a drop right here, and then he's anticipating it to come down further. But the thing is, this has been going on for a long time. So it's about time for a new moon to appear. So yeah, I don't trade moon phases, so I wouldn't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but just looking at the chart, that's what it looks like with regard to how it moves. But I'm still 100% for a buy. So as long as it hits our TP, you could come back down for yourself. But I want it to hit our TP first. So let me keep going down the list. Let's see, David said, still okay to enter a US 30 buy. David, personally, I never recommend entering a trade late, because I just feel like it's like bad juju, dude. Like I'm like superstitious. So I think if anyone wants to enter a buy, it's going to end up dropping. So I don't recommend you enter a buy. Not right now. If it breaks above this, so like I was mentioning earlier, this right here. So if it breaks the pivots and then it retests the pivots and then continues upwards, then you can enter a buy. But right here, I don't think it'd be a good time to buy. So I'd wait for it to break above it, come down, and then if it shoots back up, then yeah, take a buy. But I wouldn't I just wouldn't recommend entering right now, because it's a risky trade, because the thing is, our US 30 actually already hit TP1 and it hit TP2 right here. So technically whoever was in this trade already got out. I'm still in it because I just missed the exit. So I'm in it generally. I'm usually not in it anymore because I get out. I move my stop loss of TP following, the exit strategy. But it doesn't look like it's going to continue up. I just would wait for confirmation. I wouldn't just hop in just because it looks good. I would hop in once there's confirmation, because the last thing you want is to get in late. Because if you're going to get in right now, you're going to be missing out on like 400, 500 pips. So, depending on what loss size you're trading, that could be a decent amount of money. So I would just hang off for a little bit, and then possibly enter a little later. Camo said, what would be a good entry? For US 30, like I mentioned, I'd wait for it to break above and then enter, but I wouldn't enter right now. And you said someone has to be right. Yeah, no, for sure. I totally get it, but weight trades differently. So we're trading on the 10-minute chart. I just want a movement up here to hit our TP, and it could go wherever it wants from there. I just want it to hit our TP. Once it hits our TP, then it could go down as far as it wants. But obviously we still have this trade open. So me personally, I would want it to go up, but we'll see how that goes. Also, that's a short time frame. So if you look on the higher time frame, 30 minutes intraday. So intraday is probably still bearish, but if you go on the even higher time frame like we were looking at earlier, the 4-hour, it's still bullish. And then you look at the daily, it's also bullish. So looking at the higher time frames, the US 30s is pretty bullish. So let's go on the 1-hour. And the only difference is that it starts to show bearish movement on the 1-hour and lower. You go on the 2-hour. Yeah, see the 2-hour is still bullish because it's above the pivots. So the thing is, it could really go either way. If you're trading it long term, like swing trading, then obviously I would anticipate a bullish move, because you can see right here, price is coming down. It's tested the pivots. Generally, when it comes down, test the pivots and rejects off, it shoots back up. Again, right here, it came down, test the pivot, shot back up. And then the same thing right here. So it came down, test the pivot. What do you expect to happen? Shoot back up. It could either shoot back up a little bit and then just consolidate sideways, or it could shoot up to the moon. So, it could go either way at this point. But like, what Aaron says, Wade trades a little differently. He doesn't trade the same way we do. We trade off momentum. So if he's trading on the higher time frame, then his analysis can be completely different, because he's not anticipating any TPs to be hit like right away. He's like hanging on to it. He's waiting for it to come down long term. Like he's waiting days on weeks on this. He's not waiting for it to hit right away. For us personally, we want it to hit TP today. Like I want to get out of this trade within the next couple hours. And if not, we're still in profit. So even if I wanted to, I could move my stop loss. Let's see. If I wanted to, I could move my stop loss and profit, like to break even, to eliminate my risk, or I can even move it in profit somewhere up here. But me personally, of course, I want to maximize my profit, so I'm gonna keep hanging on to it until London session. I really don't like holding it into London session, because that's when the market gets a little crazy. So yeah, I'd probably just wait for it. Also, so right here, if you were following the daily US 30 strategy, just looking at the chart right here, the next signal is going to be a buy signal, right? So if we get a buy signal, that's going to be the Asia entry. So if we get a buy signal, this gives us like double confirmation that price is going to shoot up. And then let's see where the London session was. So look, the London entry was right over here actually. Yeah, so this was the London entry. You can see that the K2 strategy is super accurate. So, okay, there's a buy signal. So, looking right here, this is midnight. This is when the London session opened. And then this is the first K2 signal. I don't know if anyone's here that trades the London entry, but if you did take the London entry, obviously if you took it straight to TP right here for 1,500 pips. So, looking at our entry over here for US session, I'm anticipating us to hit TP. And then if we get another buy signal right here, I'm anticipating that to hit TP too, because the K2 strategy is just too accurate. And if they all double up and they're all going in the same direction, then, I bet that it'd be a buy, because obviously the buy hit here, I'm anticipating buy from US session here. And then for Asia session, if we get a buy signal right here, I'm anticipating that to hit TP as well. So it's going to hit our TP, probably pass it, hit another TP. But, we'll just have to wait and see, because the market just, it doesn't always play out the way that we plan, but most of the time it does. So I'll just give it some time, and then we'll take a look in a bit. But I think that's about it for US 30 right now. There's not really much to analyze, because we're still looking for a buy. So regardless, our bias is going to be for a buy, but depending on how it plays out, it'll do what it wants to do. But let's see. Andrew said, ignore my SPX question. Manux said, it needs to be above pivots or just after momentum line appears. Manux, so if you're new here, the daily K2 strategy is really simple. So basically, I'll just put it right here. This is going to be the daily, the K2 daily US 30 strategy. First thing you're going to do is look for entries after the New York Stock Exchange open, which is going to be 6:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time, my time. And then after that, take the first K2 signal. And that's pretty much it. So that's why we took this trade right here, because the New York Stock Exchange opened at 6:30 a.m., which was right here, 6:30. And then this was the first buy signal. And that's why we took it. That's how simple the strategy is. And it's super accurate. Like regardless as to how simple it is, it's still super accurate. And we've been using, this is pretty much the same strategy I've been using for all of the US 30 calls. And like I mentioned before, so this is for the US session. If you want to use it for the London session, like Marcus does and Aryan, and a couple other people in the group, if you want to use it during London session, you just change the time. So instead of looking for entries after the New York Stock Exchange open, you're going to look for entries after the London open. So if you want to look for the London open, that's going to be 12 a.m. my time, midnight. So if you're applying it for London session 12 a.m., you just look where midnight happens, which was right here. So this is 12 a.m. my time. Look for entries after the London open. Take the first K2 signal. This is or I'll put first valid K2 signal, because a lot of people get that mixed up. So same strategy, just different entry time. London open right here. Take the first valid K2 signal right here. And then obviously minimum TP would be 1,500 pips. And then obviously hit TP right there. So that's pretty much how the strategy works. And then same for Asia session, like I was mentioning over here. Instead of London open, you're gonna do, I don't know the exact time for the Asia session entry, because there's a lot of different times you can do. When Tokyo opens, or you can, I don't know what time the Tokyo stock market opens, but I'm assuming it's like what, 4 p.m. or yeah, Asia open, which I'm not for 100% sure, because I haven't tested this myself, but this is pretty much what I think it is and it should be. So let me just make this a little smaller. So yeah, if we were to apply this strategy during Asia session, this would need to be a valid buy signal. And then, so let me see. Technically, that would be Asia Open would be somewhere around here. Yeah, so this is Asia session. And then if this is a valid buy entry, then that would be another entry for the same strategy but for Asia session. But I don't think the Asia session entry is as accurate as a London and US session. So that's why I typically don't take it. But if you were to apply that strategy here, that's where the entry would be if this closed. This would have to close as a valid signal though. So this would be invalid if it's a red candle within a buy signal. This is also invalid because it's a sell signal with a green bullish candle. This would be a valid sell signal because it's a red bearish candle within the red sell signal. And this would be a valid buy signal because it's a buy signal with a green bullish candle. So technically, for it to be valid, it just has to be red and red or green and green. If it's green and red, it's invalid. If it's red and green, it's invalid. Right here, this was red and green, invalid. Valid, valid. Um, but yeah, I mean, we'll keep a lookout for this, but I just don't see any reason for us to really keep looking at US 30. We've already analyzed it, as much as possible uh, as to like what we can look at this time. But we'll just have to give it some more time and then see how it plays out, an hour from now. But yeah, okay, so let's keep looking. Manuk said, like in London example, it was below the lines. Does it matter that there are resistance? So for this specific strategy, there's this is all we follow. We don't incorporate anything else. I mean, there's other confirmations that you can apply. So if you want to trade with the trend, obviously you can use the pivots. I think that's what you were referring to earlier. But as you can see right here, this entry was against the trend, but the momentum was so strong that it still shot it upwards. So that's why we don't really need, any other confirmation because the strategy works strictly based off momentum, especially with this entry too. So if you look here, this entry was against the trend, and this entry was against the trend as well, but they both shot up pretty nicely. So that's why we kind of disregard it, but it can be used if you want to. But technically, it's not really necessary for this specific strategy. If you look at the K2 pivot strategy, then yeah, it's necessary, but for this specific strategy, it's not. We're just trading strictly off momentum. So let me keep going. Hey Jasmine, I see your question about GJ. Can you put that in the Q&A? I'm gonna go down the Q&A questions now, so I'm not really gonna look at the chat. So if you guys have any questions, just put them in the Q&A, and then I'll go over any pairs that you guys want me to look over, or go over any strategies if that's what you guys want me to look at. But let me go with the first question. So Andrew said to look at SPX follow 30. He told me to ignore that question, so I'll just ignore that. But yeah, going back to SP, I'll just go over it anyways. So for S&P, I discussed this, a lot of times before. The thing with S&P and the US 30, they do move very similarly, but they're not 100% every time. So I'm just gonna put them side by side so that you guys can see, what it looks like. Currently, if they're moving the same direction currently, possibly that they'll continue in that same direction. But, me personally, I just I don't like to pair them together because you can see right here, okay, so price came up right here and then price came down super sharply. Like you can see it came down super sharply from here, but for S&P, it came down a little bit and then it shot back up. So it's not 100%. I wouldn't enter trades for US 30 specifically as anyone would for S&P. Like right here, price came up, it came down pretty hard actually. So it came down pretty hard right here. Right here, it just consolidated. It didn't really go down like it did right here. And that's why I don't like, if you're going to analyze S&P, just analyze S&P on its own. I wouldn't just, take a blind entry for S&P just because we have a buy entry for US 30. I would definitely analyze them separately because technically they're still separate. They're different assets that they move similarly, but they're not 100% the same. So the thing is, last thing you want to do is take a buy right here or take a sell right here because you think US 30 is going to sell, but then it consolidates and then you're going to get screwed if if it doesn't go in your direction. Because right here you can see price shot up pretty sharply from right here, and then for US 30, this would have been a better entry if you took a buy from there because it came down pretty sharply and then it shot up. but for here it's a little different. And that's just, that's my perspective for the two indicators. So let's go back to single chart, and let's see what we got next. All right, so we got all right, so James said bought EU at 1.19364. Let's check it out. Yeah, no, EU is really good, James. It's moving, the same direct. I have it marked up here actually. So let's see. It looks like you might have taken. So you got in a little later, but yeah, basically this would have been a valid entry for EU, but I didn't call it because it closed at 2 a.m. So I was asleep when it closed. But I would have taken it if I was awake when it happened, because it looks like a pretty good trade. Looks like it played out right here, and it looks like it would have hit TP1. So if we map this, yeah, so TP1 would have been halfway a full TP, which is 40 pips. Full TP would have been 80, so it would have hit TP2 right here. I probably would have gone stop down profit, but if I took this full trade right here, it looks like it's pretty good, and it should continue on upwards, especially because it moves the same direction as GU. So we don't have the EU active right now, but we do have a GU active. So looking at GU right here, it looks perfectly fine. It looks like it's going to shoot up right here and continue to full TP. So if GU looks good, obviously EU would look good as well. So they both look like great entries right now. So that's a nice entry. Let's see, James entered at, let me just see where you entered from. Horizontal line. So James entered at 19364. Oh, you got in pretty good. Yeah. So you got in at a later time. So if you missed this one, yeah, that would have been an entry right there. Someone else asked me about this, and it does look good. But it's just a little late. Me personally, I don't like entering this late because, let's see. Yeah, it's about 25 pips in. So technically, if I was taking a standard lot, I basically gave away 250 bucks. So if I wanted to enter this trade, instead of risking 800, I would have been risking 1,050 bucks or something like that. If I was to factor in this extra movement right here, but it does look good so far. I'm actually thinking about scalping this maybe like on the 10-minute, because if you turn the pivots, it's looking real nice. Like this is super nice right here. I think we took this last week and then we exited somewhere around here. But dang, like if we held on to this trade right here for a pivot entry. So if you guys are familiar with the K2 pivot strategy, this would have been a nice smooth move up. And I think we did take this entry, but we got out somewhere around here for like 50 pips or something last week, which was perfect. But yeah, let's keep going over. All right, so next question. All right, Lovely said, can you go over K²JPY? So we were talking about this in the premium chat earlier. We do have a sell entry right now for K²JPY right here. It didn't hit TP1. It was really close to hitting TP1, but not yet. It looks like it came down. Actually, no, it didn't even come down that much. It looks like as soon as we entered it, it shot right back up. But like I was talking about in the chat, I was saying that if we get a bearish candle off this rejection right here, then I would anticipate it to shoot on downwards, because this would be a perfect pattern for a break and retest. So you can see price came down, it broke the K2SR level right here, and then it's retesting right here. So if we get a strong bearish candle, like a strong red candle, like something like this right here, then, well, not that, this isn't a strong bearish candle. So let me see if I can find that strong. Okay, so right here. So right here, price came down. This was a break. And then it retested right here. And then as it retested, you can see it was a strong bearish candle. It was like an upside down hammer. And then after that happened, it came straight down to the next zone. And that's kind of what I see happening right here. Price, it broke the zone, it retested right here. And then if we get a strong bearish candle, then I'm anticipating it to shoot on down to test the next zone down here, which is where our TP is. So we'll hit TP1, TP2, and then possibly TP3. But I would always recommend that you move your stop loss, once we hit TPs. And that's pretty much what I see happening right here for pretty much the same setup. So break and retest. So price broke, retested, confirmed the bearish movement, and then it came down. That's exactly what I see happening over here. Price broke the zone, retested, and then we just need that extra confirmation for it to come down. Or it might even keep testing it. So it might keep testing it and then go sideways before it comes down. But overall, I think it's going to come down because looking at the pivots, it's attempting to cross below. And I mean cross below as in as in reversing the trend. So you can see right here, price came up, and then once it crossed below, and then the pivots started angling downwards, it shot down pretty heavily. That's exactly what I see happening over here as it crosses. So you can see right here, price attempted to cross, but it couldn't complete. But right here, I see if it crosses like it did over here. So we should match this area right here. You see they cross and it came down. That's the same thing I see happening right here. But we're just gonna have to be patient. It's only 4:30, so we have about an hour and 23 minutes left in this candle. So it's got a lot of time for it to push farther down and complete, a strong bearish candle rejection off this K2SR zone. So yeah, we're just gonna have to give it some time. There's still a lot of time on the table before we can, analyze this any further, because there's a lot of movement that could happen from now until an hour and a half from now. But yeah, looks good. So, oh, it's Sierra. Yeah, Sierra. So yeah, we were talking about that earlier in the chat. And there's a confirmation of, the analysis that I was discussing earlier in the trade talk. Sierra said a scalp EU. Yeah, no, let's go on the shorter time frame. Yeah, see, the scalp move actually would have been right here for a pivot entry. If you guys are familiar with the K2 pivot strategy, I'll just put it down right here. K2 pivot strategy, and this works on all time frames. So, the first requirement is confirm trend via K2 pivots. 2, confirm tracement pullback. 3, confirm rejection off K2 zone area or a K2 pivot area. And lastly, confirm valid K2 signal. So if you guys are familiar with the K2 strategies, like most of you guys are, so basically we can look at, so this would be an example somewhere over here. So right here, confirm the trend. Obviously when price is above the K2 pivots, the pivots are angling upwards and they're spread out. That would confirm an uptrend. So right here, obviously price is trending up because price is above the pivots. The pivots are all angling upwards and they're all spread out. So it's a pretty strong trend upwards. Next, confirm a retracement pullback. So right here, price was trending upwards and then it came down. So as it came down, this would be considered a retracement or pullback. So requirement 1, number 2 are met. Price is trending up. Right here, we have a retracement. Next, confirm a rejection off the K2 pivot area. So price came up, retraced right here, rejected at this point. So requirement 1, 2, and 3 are met. Lastly, confirm a valid K2 signal. So as I mentioned, in order for it to be valid, it has to be green and green or red and red. So right here, price is trending up, requirement 1 met. Right here, price established a high, then retraced downwards. There's requirement number 2. Third requirement, confirm a rejection. There's a rejection right here. And lastly, confirm a valid K2 signal. So right here we have a valid K2 signal. And if you took that trade, obviously it would hit TP somewhere down here. So that would have been one entry. Same requirement again right here. Price is trending, retrace. I'll just delete this. Price is trending up, retracement, rejection, valid K2 signal. So that was a valid buy right there. That would have won. This right here again would have won, obviously. Again, right here, like you could literally just run the strategy all day and hit TP back to back to back. So if you took this strategy, I don't even know how many times, so many times here. Yeah, they're literally all winners. So if you took this strategy, from when the trend started down here, or you could even, if you take this, if you take it all the way from down here, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then 17. This is what I was alluding to. I was alluding to this being the entry here for a scalp. So this is probably gonna shoot on up from right here, hit TP. So that's about what, 16 wins right there for about 30 pips each. So 16 times, if you were literally just scalping EU, you would have made 480 pips off these trades right here, just scalping it. And then if you're taking a standard lot, you multiply that by 10, that would have been a $4,800 profit. I mean, I didn't do it because I don't scalp anymore, but if I did scalp, you know, this would have been a nice, like really nice win right here. So those are entries right there. You could have done it the other way too. So if you look at the pivot strategy, confirm the trend. So over here, price is trending up, right? Down here, price is trending down. So right here, we have a downtrend. Confirm a retracement. So price retraced from up here, established a low. It retraced up, and then it rejected right here, right? So as it rejected, 1, 2, 3 requirements met. Last requirement, confirm a valid K2 signal. Right here's a valid sell signal. So if you took this right here, you would have won this for like 20 pips right there. Again, right here, price came down, retraced up further, rejected off this point. All requirements met. Another short position, again right there. So technically that would have been like 18 wins. So you could have locked in like 500 pips just scalping EU. I should go back to scalping since I have a little more free time. But yeah, so for EU, if you were to take this trade, technically it'd be right here. Actually, I think that's where James took it. So let's see. Yeah, actually, I think that was an entry that James took for his EU. So that's actually a really good entry. But again, I know a lot of people are going to ask me, oh, should I enter EU right now? My answer is no. You know, you'd have to enter at the time you're supposed to enter. I never recommend that people make late entries or any re-entries because that's just too risky. You know, just wait for the next trade because obviously there's going to be more trades coming. But yeah, so let's keep going down. So Angel's asking, what do you think about EA? So let me go back to my time frame, 4 hour. We'll go to EA over here. I got out of EA a long time ago. So I got out of EA when we hit TP1 up here. When did we hit TP1? Euro odd. So we actually hit this last Thursday. So last Thursday we hit TP1 over there for 20 pips. That's when I got out. I moved my stop loss and profit once you reach that point. But you know, here I'll analyze it again just to see where we're at currently. I'll just move this over. So the thing with EA is that it was heavily affected from the news yesterday. You can see this huge spike right here. So this was this morning. Price came up and then it shot right back down. So it spiked about 870 pips. That's a huge spike. So the thing with the AUD pairs, they've been spiking around since the market opened on Sunday. You can see this huge candle right here. So this candle right here dropped 70 pips. It's literally been spiking back and forth 70 pips. So it spiked down 70 pips, corrected back up 70 pips, shot back down, and then shot back up right here. But yeah, Zuby's asking if this is a picture of Aaron. Yeah. You like that, Zuby? Who wore it best? Oh man, that's funny. Zuby noticed that, like it was so little down there, and he was like, "Is that a picture of Aaron?" So he kept raising his hand. I was like, "Why does Zuby keep raising his hand for him?" But yeah, that's Aaron right there. He's doing the Pink Panther challenge. But yeah, so Angel, looking back at EA right here. So although it spiked down, I still think it's coming back up because if you look at the trend meter down here, so I have the trend meter set to the intraday settings. Overall, it's still been bullish. So you can see right here, it's been bullish overall. and then it just became a little neutral right here. But you can see that price is trying to push back up. So if you're still in this trade, it's a risky trade. Like technically, I would have recommended to get out last week. So it was up in profit for a bit last week, and then I got out right away because EA is just in general, EA is a risky pair. Any of the pairs that are crossed with the Australian dollar or New Zealand dollar, they move a lot faster than normal FX pairs, and they're just super risky. You can see just by looking at it, you can see the wicks. It's a very indecisive pair. So like right here, you can see price spiked up and down every single pair. So every 4-hour candle, it spiked up and down like 100 pips. So just for like future reference, if you're trading EA or AN or EN or GN, like those pairs are just they're just a little risky. So if you look at GJ right here, normally, well, this is still a minor. So if we look at a what was I thinking? Oh, like GU. So GU here, it moves really smooth. It doesn't really spike around and consolidate like EA here. You can see EA, it spikes around a lot. Like the wicks here, let's see. So this wick right here is like 60 pips. If you compare that to a wick on GU, so this is like, I guess, let's see, I'm gonna look for a big wick. So this would be considered like a big wick. It's only like 30 pips. It's like half the movement of EA. So, and this wick right here was super risky. So this is where I thought it was going to come back. So this morning at 6 a.m., this is when I was looking at it. There was a huge spike right here. I was hoping that I was going to close up here because, once it breaks the zone, then I anticipate to shoot up to the next zone. So for what price currently is right here, if this closes above this zone right here, then I'm going to anticipate it to shoot up to the next zone, and then from there shoot up to the next zone. So me personally, I still have a bullish bias for EA, more so because we still have an active buy position, but also just by looking at other factors, like looking at the pivots, price is above the pivots right now. So if price rejects off the lower pivot right here and shoots on up, then I anticipate it to continue on upwards. Similar to what happened over here. So price came up, it came down. And then what happened when it broke above this zone right here? It ended up shooting up all the way up here. So that's kind of where I have in mind right here. So if this candle closes above this zone right here, then I'm anticipating it to shoot on upwards. But it's kind of hard to tell with the Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar crosses because they're just very they move very irregular. Obviously, if you look at this and then you compare it to like AU moves a lot smoother compared to all of the other AUD and NZD crosses. So if you look at AUD, NZD, there's like huge wicks all around. EA, huge wicks all around. EN, see, like literally it's going back and forth between the pairs. But GA and EA especially, you can see GA here, there's like huge spikes. So this wick right here is like 70 pip, 80 pips. That's a big spike. Same with EA over here from the spike earlier, 70 pips off this wick. So if you're still in this trade, I think it's still safe to hang on to it. But personally, I would recommend that once it moves into profit, so once it shoots up here, I would move your stop loss with it. So move your stop loss in profit, just in case something weird happens again and it pulls back, then it'll stop you out in profit, and then you don't have to worry about this trade anymore. But yeah, so let's keep going down to the next question. Zuby said all I wanted to ask. Go back to the lesson. Yeah, I was saving that for a good day, for when Aaron tried to act up in the chat again. We could do a doppelganger. All right, so what do you think about EA? We're done with that. Anonymous attendees asking, what indicators do you use? So I only use the K2 indicators. I use the K2 pivots indicator, which are these 4 lines right here. I use the K2 momentum indicator, which are these vertical lines right here. So if I hide everything, actually, so let me just hide everything. Let me go to another chart where it's clean. Okay, so I'll just show you all of the indicators that I use, just so you can have an understanding of how we trade here. So first indicator I use is the K2 momentum indicator. basically self-explanatory. The vertical lines here will indicate the direction of momentum. So if price is going with the trend, so if momentum's swinging up and it's going with the trend, obviously it's going to push upwards. If you have a opposite momentum candle, but the trend is going up, then this would just be considered a retracement or pullback. So you can see it slightly pulled back and then it consolidated. And then once you got a buy signal in the direction of the trend, it shot up again. Same distance, same difference right here. So sell signal in the direction of the trend, it's just a retracement. Buy signal right here, shot up, retracement, shot up, retracement, shot up, retracement, same old, same old. That's the first indicator that I use. And this is the main indicator that we use. We use this for all the K2 strategies. That'd be the first indicator. The next indicator is the trend meter down here. So just looking at the trend meter right here, you can set this to any settings. So generally I have it set to the overall intraday setting. So I have it to the 30-minute, 1 hour, 2 hour, and 4 hour. That way I can easily see the direction of the trend just by looking at the trend meter down here. So instead of having to draw, trend lines like that, I could just look down. If it's green down here, then it's trending up overall for the day. And I have it set to the 30-minute, 1 hour, 2 hour, and 4 hour, because that's going to give you a good general understanding as to how, the direction of price for that specific day. Because, for 30 minutes, so if I go on the 30-minute chart, so if I go on the 30-minute chart, each candle is 30 minutes. So I know where price is going for the next 30 minutes, the next hour, the next 2 hours, the next 4 hours. So if you count, X amount of hours, there's only so many hours per session, like what, 8 hours, maybe even less for H's session. So this will give you an easy outlook as to, what the direction of price. So instead of having to draw a trend line, you just look at the bottom and then you see it's green, it's obviously trending up. If it's blue, it's neutral. Obviously you can see right here when it's blue, price is consolidating. Prices, trend meter is blue down here, consolidation. It's blue right here, consolidation. And then if it's red, see, as you can see right here, as it's red, instead of having to draw trend lines from up here, like whatever, like that, you can just look down. If you look down, it's red, then you can easily identify that price is trending down. So if you tie this with the momentum indicator, you can see right here, if you have red and red, so price is trending down, correct? And then you have a momentum swing downwards, you could have entered a sell right here. And that's one of the K2 strategies. You enter a sell right there, you'd have locked in 70 pips. 70 pips times 10 bucks per pip. If you're trading standard lot, that's a $700 profit right there. Again, right here, it's red and red. Enter that, another 70 pips. Again, right here, red and red. Looks like it came down how many pips? Came down about 50 pips. That's a pretty big move. So if it moves down 50 pips, you should move your stop loss to break even or in profit. And if you did, you'd have gone stopped out, and then you would have had 2 wins over here for 1,400 pips. So that's what? That's like 1,400 in profit, and then a break even or a small profit right here. Dang, Aaron. You, Aaron, man. I hope you're watching the game. So that's the second indicator. The third indicator is going to be the K2SR indicator. So what the K2SR indicator does is it will automatically plot the support and resistance on the chart for you. So just looking right here, you can see that this is the support resistance for the specific time frame. If you go and you rewind, to a specific point in time, you can see that the support resistance is right here. And as price moves, it's going to automatically adjust. So as you can see right there, price came up, rejected off the resistance, right? Came back down. Here's a new support. Right there, price broke the support. It shot back up here. It adjusted the support to this level. And then it just automatically updates as price moves. So you can see right there, price broke the resistance, created a new resistance. Price broke the support, created a new support, broke the resistance, created a new resistance. And then pretty much just automatically updates for you. So instead of having to draw, or not even drawing, like a lot of people don't place their support resistance in the proper places. Like they'll place it up here or something, and then they'll place it down here or something. and then the thing is, you have to keep adjusting it. So as price comes down here, you have to adjust it. As price comes over here, you know, that's the thing with plotting support resistance. It's so subjective. Like, so resistance could be right here, resistance could be up here. It could be in so many places. And that's why I'd rather have the computer do it for me so there's no mistake. The thing with this indicator that I created is it goes back as far in data as you want it to. So the K2SR indicator right here, I have it go back 100 bars because I trade intraday. So I want to know where the support resistance is 100 candles back. If I'm trading a 30-minute, that's 100 30-minute candles. You know, I don't need to go any farther than that because I'm just trading this time period. But if you want to go farther, you can change that to like 500. You can change it to, and then you can see it adjust a little bit. You can change to 1,000. It really depends on how, so you can see right here it adjusted. So these are the 500 candles back. That's where the support resistance is. If you want to go back 1,000 candles, you can do that too. It just really depends on how you want to trade. But yeah, so I'll just put this back to default. Oh, fuck. Okay, there we go. Back to 100. Okay, so back to 100 automatically plots support resistance for you. And then version 2 is going to be the zones. So instead of just having one support resistance on the chart for you, now you have zones. And this helps because you can see where price rejects from. So obviously if you're taking a sell right here, you don't want to enter a sell right here because what generally happens is price is going to reject off this and then shoot on upwards. So that's kind of what happened here. And this gives you a good understanding as to like where not to take a trade. So price comes up right here. You obviously don't want to take a buy right here because odds are price is going to reject off it. And look what happened there, on point. See, if you guys have these indicators, it's like a cheat code. You literally know when and where not to trade. So once price gets near these areas, you should probably not take a sell right here because it's probably going to reject off. They did exactly that. See that? You guys have like an upper hand. This is your edge in the market because a lot of people don't have this. You know, I created these indicators. All these indicators are proprietary. So if you have these indicators, you're going to know exactly when and where not to trade. So that's K2SR V2. And then lastly, this is the K2 pivots indicator. Basically what it does is it gives you the trend for the specific time frame and it gives you a rejection point. So on top of the K2SR, instead of having, you know, set support resistance areas, now you'll have pivots, or I guess support resistance that follows price. So as price moves, it'll move with it. And then you can see these are areas where price generally rejects off. So you can see right here, as price tests the higher pivots, odds are it's probably going to reject off really hard, or it's going to, if it breaks above it, it'll continue on upwards. So let's see what happens here. See this rejection? Fucking nice. It's like it's like literally a cheat code for you because you can literally know not to trade in this direction. So like in this situation, if you're taking, you know, specific trades, you would only take sells. So right here, you would have taken the sell if you wanted to, take that trade. Again, right here, you could have taken a sell right there. And then now that price is above, you can take buys. So right here, you have a nice buy. And then you hit TP for 25 pips. How easy is that? Price comes down. Now it's below the pivot. You can take a sell. There's a sell signal right there. But then obviously, you know, there's different. If you go back to the, I don't know where's the GU. I had the requirements here for the pivots strategy, but there's different strategies that you can apply for, you know, each specific indicator. But yeah, that's pretty much all the K2 indicators that we use. That's all that I use. I don't use anything else because the K2 indicators are like, they're made for a specific reason. They're made to cover all all corners of trading. Like if you know the direction of the trend, then there's one thing that you need. Then the next thing you need is to know where price is going to be rejecting from. The K2SR lets you know that. So you have the K2SR. So you know which direction to trade in. You know where not to trade in because there's support resistance areas everywhere. Obviously, you want to trade in those areas. And then lastly, you have the momentum indicator. So you know what direction to trade. you know where not to trade and you know when to trade because you know where momentum's going. So literally, that's all you really need to be a consistent trader. And a lot of people like to overcomplicate it and go over like all these patterns and stuff, but it's not necessary. I mean, a lot of people try to trade patterns, but then most of the time they're wrong. Pattern trading is a very low win percentage game. Like the thing is, a lot of patterns aren't going to play out every time, and it takes a long time for a whole pattern to even fully form. So, you might have those big wins with patterns, but those big wins are going to come after a lot of losses. And me personally, I don't like to take losses, so I like to trade a specific way with momentum because we have such a high win rate. But everyone trades differently. There's no wrong way to trade. This is just the way that I trade. Let's see. Going back to David, sorry, but did you speak about NASDAQ? I think it might hit. We haven't talked about NASDAQ yet, David. If you can put that in the, let me see if someone asked for it in the Q&A yet. I don't think so. All right, so someone asked about NASDAQ in the Q&A, so I'll go over NASDAQ in a little bit, but let me just keep going through the questions. CT said, what chart screen are you on, EA? Can't see what you're doing. I was on GU. I was just going over the indicators. One of the new people here asked, what indicators do I use? And I just went over the indicators, but I haven't, actually, we looked over EA already earlier. Nice. So I was scalping GU right here. I'm about to hit full TP right now. $50. Check this out. Come on. $42. Waiting for it to hit. And this is my personal account. So I'm just like on my personal account, it's a small account. So I just mess around on it. It's like 5K or 10K on the account. So I literally just make scalp moves on it. But it's still fun taking scalp moves on my little fun account. Let's see. Wait for this thing. Sierra said throw some scalps. I wish I could, Sierra, but the thing is when I throw scalps, by the time I send the signal out, TP's already hit. And then people get mad. Oh, there we go. So I hit full TP right there. Yeah, like I said, it's a small account. This is just like basically my fun money account for the most part. You can see the trade I took right here. Took GA. It doesn't show my history, but yeah, it took GU earlier, and then I hit full TP. So I made 50 bucks off that, I guess. But I'm still in for the full move on the bigger account. But yeah, so let's see what else we got here. Sierra said, just send it to me. Yeah, I'll let you know, Sierra. Well, for me, I mean, basically when I scalp, all I do is I go on. So say if we have GU, right? We have GU as a big move. It's a 4-hour candle move. I'll go on the 10-minute, and then I'll run the pivot strategy. So right here, this is where I took it. There's my scalp move. I only took it for about 10 pips. So, and that's why I hit TP right there. And then you could have scalped this right here too. So Sierra, so this is another scalp move right here. Same thing, pivot entry. Again for another 24, 10 pips, something like that. Let's see. CT said all that shows on my screen is EA. Yeah, I think you might have to log out and log back in, CT. So CT's screen stuck on EA. Does everyone else here see what's going on my screen? I'm on GU right now. I'm not sure if everyone else can see this. I think it's just CT screen that's messed up, but I don't know if everyone else is okay. I think so because people were responding to my questions earlier. But yes, I think it's just UCT. It might be like a laggy connection, or maybe it's just corrupted. So okay, yeah, everyone else said they're all right. So yeah, CT just log out and then come back in. But okay, let me keep going down the questions. It's about 5:05, so about 5:30, I'm gonna start scanning the charts for any new entries for the signals at 6 p.m. Nice. Sierra said that CJ has activated. Oh yeah, it looks nice. So, oh, this is exactly what we're talking about. Sierra. So this is what I meant. See, if we have this nice bearish candle rejects off this point by 6 o'clock when the candle closes, then I anticipate this to shoot down a full TP. So if you guys are still in this trade, I think Trey was in this trade too. Is he in this chat? No, he's not. But yeah, Trey, if you're still in this trade, it's looking good. It looks like it's about to hit TP1 pretty soon. You know, I'm gonna scalp this too. Why not? It's gonna scalp for 10 pips. I don't know if I have enough money in my account to take a standard on this, but let's see. Whatever, let's do it. Ah, crap. Be in the trade. All right, I'm scalping this. I just messed around with this account, guys. This isn't me seriously trading. You know, I'm just really confident about my trades. Like, if I call this on the 4 hour, then I'm pretty positive it's going to come down on the shorter time frames. So that's why I'm, you know, I took this little scalp here for a standard lot on my. This is a real account, by the way. You know, obviously I showed you guys. This is, you know, my Forex.com account. It's not a paper account. A lot of people have been asking me if this is legit. But yeah, so I trade on this. I trade on my FTMO. I trade on my MT4. I mean, I trade on a lot of different accounts. I don't just trade on one account. So this is just my fun account. I just take random scalps on here, and I pretty much just follow the trades that I'm already taking. So I'll let that run, and then while I let that run, I'll keep going over the questions over here. Let's see. CT said much better. UJ short out of the zone, missed it. Yeah, I know. I've been looking at. Oh no, actually, it's still good. CT. So if this closes in 52 minutes, then it would be a good short entry because it just broke the zone. So this would be considered a zone entry. Angel, don't copy my trade. Yeah, I market entry that because I'm scalping it, but don't copy what I'm doing. So I enter this right here, but I'm just scalping it. So this is the full move, but I wouldn't enter where I entered. I just entered because like I'm really confident with this trade, but you know, if you don't know what you're doing, I wouldn't recommend that you enter this at the same time, because once price goes up, you're gonna wonder, you know, what's going on. But me personally, like I mentioned, this is my personal fun account, so I just put a standard lot on this so I could lock in. Let's see, lock in about $100 off this trade. You know, make $100 while I'm talking to you guys. So I'll just let that run, and then I'll keep going over. I'll keep going over the pairs. So yeah, CT said UJ. So yeah, UJ is on my list for the. I'll just mark it right now. It's on my list for entries. Yeah, the swing would be up here for about, yeah, depending on where this closes, probably be about like 90. I'll just put 95 for now. I'll come back to it later because, you know, we still have an hour left on this candle. A lot could happen in an hour. So I'll leave that alone, and then I'll keep going down the questions for now. But yeah, so let me keep going down the questions. D. So D's asking, should we enter right now for US 30? I don't recommend it. Let me go back to it. Oh fuck, did I delete it? All right, cool. So let me go put everything back. So we were right here. Oh, okay, never mind. Sorry, I just hid the drawings. I was like tripping out because I couldn't see the stuff on here. Yeah, I wouldn't enter right now because there's no real set. Actually, there's a set direction on here. So like I mentioned earlier, this was the London entry. This is the US entry. This gives me even more confidence that it will continue upwards because we have the Asia entry right here too. So yeah, do you actually, if you want to enter this trade, I mean, feel free, but I would enter it with the US settings over here. So if, I don't know, I'm not sure which D is this. We have a lot of D's in K2, so sorry D, this is the, I'm not sure which D is it, but if you go to the premium, the premium chat, the premium signals chat. So if you go there, follow the US 30 parameters. So if you go to the daily New York session US 30 buy entry, it's right here. So go by these parameters. Don't go by the Asia session, because like I mentioned earlier, the Asia session is it's a risky entry, because it's not as accurate as both of these, as the London and the New York. So just go to the K2 Premium Signals channel, and then enter from these entry points right here, which would be these right here. It'd be lined up with this entry. But I wouldn't enter market. Don't enter market right now, because you want to get you want to get prime entry, because price is about, it's about like 100 pips from entry. So you don't want to skip out on those 100 pips. You can still lock that in, because you can see price is pulling down still. So as it pulls down, you can enter at that exact price point right here. As it comes down, you can put like a buy limit. But yeah, so let me keep going down. Demaria said, disregard, going to rewatch the classes first. So yeah, Demaria said, how to adjust when you have multiple support resistance lines. Is there a way to consolidate them? So Demaris, here's like a quick example. I'm just gonna go over it really quick. The way that I usually do it, like how I draw my zones, is I will, all right, so let me just take everything off. So I know what you mean. Like sometimes the zones they're too bunched up like this, right? So, and like down here as well. So basically what I do is I'll just open the rectangle tool, and then I'll draw my own zones over the K2SR zones, so that it's not all messy. So I'll just do that. I'll do this. And then the last one down here. This is pretty much what I do. And then I hide the indicator. And there you go. It's nice and clean. So when that happens, or so say right here, how these are all bunched up right here, instead of having all of these zones right here, what I'll do is I'll just consolidate them. So I'll make one big zone like that. And then, same with down here. You can see that these are bunched up. So I'll just draw big zone like that. Same right here, these are bunched up. Zone like that. And then again down here like that. So instead of having that mess, you hide the indicators, and there you go, it looks nice. Price came down, came up, rejected, came down, rejected, came up, rejected. And then you have like a pretty much a puzzle that's been filled out for you, so that you know exactly where price is going to be rejecting from. And that's just the way that I do it. I mean, you don't have to do it this way, but it does make it a lot cleaner and easier to look at. Let's see, CT's question from earlier said UJ might be a good long zone. Good long zone. Wait, CT, we were talking about a UJ sell earlier, but I was looking at your question in the Q&A. You said a long. So are you buying or selling? Might be a long. UJ might be a good long out of zone. I think I might just be reading it wrong, but yeah, I see it as a sell. I'm pretty sure that's what you see too, because we were looking at it earlier. But I just might be reading your question wrong. But yeah, see, as price moves, we still have about 45 minutes left. So I'm, this is probably going to move up or it's going to move down. So I'll just wait for it to close. And then once it closes, we'll see, where the swing's at. But it looks like it could be somewhere around here, 90 pips. But we'll just keep checking on it. We got a lot of time left on our ends. Manuk said the pivot entries whenever it comes back to the pivot. So yeah, exactly, Manuk. So that's exactly how the strategy works. So, just to make it simple, basically, price came up, established an uptrend, came down. And then as we have the buy signal, then it confirms a momentum swing back upwards in the direction of the trend. So price came up, came down, and then came back up above the pivots and then shot straight up. So yeah, you're spot on with that analysis. Let me keep going down. Sierra's asking, how do you use the pivots to scalp? So yeah, using the pivots on the lower time frame. So like UJ right here, we're thinking about a sell. If you go on the lower time frame, you pretty much just run the pivot strategy on the lower time frame. So price came up, came down, came up. So price is trending down, requirement one's met. We have a retracement right here because we established a low. So price came down, retraced upwards, requirement two is met. Next, we look for rejections. We have a rejection right here. That would confirm the third requirement. And then lastly, valid K2 signal. So right here's a valid sell signal, enter a sell, ends up hitting TP down here. Same situation right here. Price came down, retracement, rejection off this point, sell signal, enter a sell, another win right there for about 20 pips. Again, right here, price came up, came down, price is trending down, retracement right here, rejection off this point, requirements 1 through 3 have been met. Lastly, valid K2 signal right here, enter a sell, right there for another win. So it's about 1, 2, so 1, 2, 3, 3 wins for about 20 pips. So like 3 times 20, 60 pips, times 10 if you're trading standard lot. 600 pip win right there. Not bad. So that's cool. Let's see what else we got here. Angel said, what's the best strategy to use to trade Bitcoin? So I don't really have a strategy that I recommend for Bitcoin because the thing with Bitcoin is it doesn't move like any other asset. It's literally pure speculation. Although if you look here, the pivot strategy does work well on it. Like price came up, so trending up, retracement right here, rejection down here, buy signal right here. If you took that right there, you would have won, I don't know, 500 pips or I guess $5,000 if you're trading a full Bitcoin. But the thing with Bitcoin is that it'll spike anywhere. Like this right here, super regular, just randomly it's trending up, spike down to stop everyone out, and then it continued back up. And that's why I don't like trading stuff like this. I don't like trading speculative assets because they can literally get pushed in any direction depending on whoever has the most Bitcoin or whoever has power in the crypto space. Like this is why I don't like trading it. You can literally be watching Bitcoin and it won't move for like days, weeks, months. Like right here, barely moved. How long did it consolidate for? 11 days. So like if you were in this trade right here, you kind of would have been screwed for 11 days because you wouldn't even know what's going to happen next. Because like who would have thought that price would have spiked up from here? But just looking at the chart, it looks like the pivot strategy works pretty well. So maybe on the shorter time frame, because I don't trade crypto, so I don't know what time frame people trade on. But I wouldn't trade on the higher time frame because of the way Bitcoin moves. Like you can see right here, it's just consolidating for like a good while, and then it shot back up right here. It's just too all over the place. It's like it's hard for you to really develop a strategy for this specific asset because there's going to be random movements like this right here. Like this is crazy. Look at this spike. It spiked like 550 pips. Like I don't know what would have caused that, but it went from moving barely anything. It went from moving like 30 to 40 pips each candle, and then a random 500 pip movement. And this is why I don't like to trade this. But yeah, I mean, personally, if you want to trade crypto, then I would just recommend looking at the pivot strategy. But I personally wouldn't recommend it, and I haven't tested it myself, so I can't confirm whether it's good or not. But if it's something that you'd like to apply, it'd probably be this strategy. What did David say here? Aaron trades. Oh man, that's what I'm saying. Edward said, what pairs do you recommend for early new FX traders?
Gold. I'm just playing.
Oh man, you back, man? What are you
I'm
doing?
in
You
here.
watching the game? Bro, you were loud earlier. I was like, what are you doing?
Normally when it's loud in my background, I mute it. Well, I mute my voice. You got
Yeah.
dogs barking and stuff.
Let's see. Edward said, what pairs do you recommend for early new FX traders? So me personally, I'd probably just stick to the major pairs. So the major pairs would be like AUD USD, Euro USD, GBP USD, NZD USD, USD CAD, USD JPY, and USD CHF. So basically anything paired with USD. And the reason for that is because since it's a major pair, it's always going to be somewhat volatile. It's not going to be dead. Like EG, if you trade EG, you might be holding this trade for a cool minute, or like AUD CHF, like you might be holding this for like a month, like we did last month. So I wouldn't recommend trading AUD CHF or GBP, Euro GBP, or something that moves crazy, like GBP CAD. Like this moves way faster than other pairs and it's worth a lot more. So look at this big signal candle right here. It moves like 30 pips, but the cost of trading GBP CAD is a lot more compared to other pairs. So I would recommend you just stick to major pairs for now, for the most part. Let's see. Yeah, D said USD sell, USD JPY sell. So yeah, that's what we looked at earlier. I'm looking at UJ for a sell as well. I'm just waiting for it to close below the K2SR level right here. So once it closes below, then I'll take a sell. If you guys aren't familiar with the K2SR zone strategy, I'll put it up here. K2SR zone strategy. And basically for this, you just want to confirm direction of momentum. Get a K2 momentum indicator. Confirm break and close past K2SR level. And then that's it. You can enter, open a following candle. So that's pretty much it. I'll show you another entry right here. So let's take off the pivots. So right here, you want to confirm the directional momentum. By doing that, you just want to look at the previous K2 signal. So right here, we have a sell signal, even though it's invalid. If price continues downwards, then that would confirm a downwards momentum. Right here, we have a buy signal. Price of momentum went upwards. Right here, we have a sell signal. Price came down before rejecting off these pivots right here. I mean, not pivots, the K2SR level. So right here, we have a momentum downwards. Next, confirm a breaking close past the K2SR level. So price broke this level right here. Momentum was coming down. First two requirements are met, and that's all you need. Once that happens, you can enter on the open of the falling candle. So right here, I'm pretty sure we did take this trade. It was a sell. And then you can see it was a win right there for 60 pips. Looking at our previous entry. So right here, I did call that actually. So right here, same entry, pivot entry right there. So once it closed below, we entered a sell straight to TP. That's exactly what happened right here. And that's exactly what I'm anticipating right here too. So if this happens to close, then it would be a valid sell entry. And then I would take that. But we would have to wait for it to close. We have about 30 minutes. Probably about 10 minutes, I'll go and I'll scan the charts for any entries. But UJ is definitely on my list. Let's see, TJ said, hey bro, is that NZD? TJ is asking about NASDAQ 100 sell. That was a signal called by Wade, but I can look at it for you. I don't really trade indices like that. I only trade US 30. So I personally don't have any analysis for that yet. Actually, no. I mean, you guys are in a sell, but it's not going to go with K2, because with K2 we traded with momentum. So I would have taken a buy, or not yet. So we need a valid buy signal. So right here, it's an invalid buy signal. So I wouldn't have taken this trade. But down here, this is a valid buy signal. This is a valid buy for the pivot entry. So as you can see here, price is trending up, right? So requirement one's met, waited for a retracement right here, established a high, price retraced down, then we saw a rejection down here. So once we saw this rejection, all we needed was a valid K2 signal. So price is trending up, retracement, rejection, valid K2 buy signal. So right here, I would have taken a buy. And then I probably would have had a previous swing somewhere down here. So about 500 pips. And then would have hit TP right there. So me personally, I don't trade against the trend. So if you guys are in a sell, it's obviously against the trend. So me personally, I wouldn't recommend a sell. But if you're looking at something that Wade called, you probably would have to ask him, because his analysis is totally different. He swing trades, and he trades like he uses fundamentals and stuff like that. He doesn't trade the same way I do, or the way that the K2 strategies work. Basically, all the K2 strategies are in the direction of the trend and with momentum. So, it's kind of a no-brainer. If you're trading the direction of the trend and then you catch the momentum wave upwards, more likely than not, it's going to be a win. And that's why we trade this way, or, me specifically. But yeah, I can't recommend a sell for NASDAQ because it's against the trend and it's not US 30. Obviously, the US 30 strategy is a little different. But that's the only different one. That one's just pure momentum. We don't really care about the trend for that specific strategy. But if you were to apply the pivot strategy here, obviously you could have applied it for all these entries right here. So this would have been an entry right here for a win for 500 pips. This would have been a win right here, 500 pips. And this is what I mean. Like if you trade with the trend and with moment, you have an edge. Like you have the K2 indicator giving you momentum. It's almost like it's a win like almost every time. So if you count all of these right here, this wouldn't be an entry because it's an invalid buy signal, although it would have been a win, but we're not going to count that. But yeah, just looking at this right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 wins for about 600 pips each. You would have locked in 3,600 pips trading NASDAQ just using the pivot strategy. Yeah, I mean, it's simple. This is what I always recommend people to use if they're going to apply the strategies on indices, because this strategy works very good on indices. I mean, it works in both directions. Right here, some more buys. These are all wins. Angel said, just curious why 600 pips for each. Because I just let TradingView do the calculations for me. Like I didn't do the calculations. I just used the long tool. And then TradingView places the stop loss at the previous swing, which would be considered right here. So this would be the swing. And then it counted it as 570 pips. Again, right here, same thing. I don't trade NASDAQ, so I don't know, what's a good number. I don't trade other indices aside from US 30. So me personally, I don't know why. I don't know if this would be a good number. It might be, it might not. I personally don't trade it, so I wouldn't know. For US 30, on the other hand, I trade it all the time, so I know what the good stop loss point is for that. But for NASDAQ, honestly, I don't know. That this is just what's automatically plotted by TradingView. So you should probably ask Wade if you want a good stop loss point. But generally, I usually put it at the previous swing. The only difference with the 10-minute chart is that it's going to be hard for you to identify the previous swing because it's on such a short time frame, and it's usually consolidating than moving directional. So if you go on the higher time frame, like the 4 hour, it's easier for you to spot the swing. So right here, if you want to enter a buy, it's easy to tell the swing is right here compared to the 10-minute, and that would be 2,300 pips. But yeah, if you're scalping, it's a totally different story. But yeah, so I mean that's NASDAQ. Me personally, I wouldn't take a sell because I don't trade against the trend. But if you're in a sell, I mean, it could come down. This doesn't mean that it's not going to come down. It's just that I personally wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, Angel, for US 30, 1500 is generally a good sweet spot if you're applying the daily US 30 strategy, because generally that's how much US 30 moves within each session. So if we go to on a good day, like if price isn't moving slow, then that'd be a good price point. So like right here on London Open, it went straight to 150 pips. For New York session, like it's just been slow all day. So I wouldn't consider that a good price point. Maybe 750 would have been a good price point because that's where our other TP hit. But I mean, it just depends on how the market's moving. But if you look right here, so this is 6 o'clock, 6:30. Look how much it moved from that day. So this is New York session yesterday, 1,800 pips, 1,500 pips, good sweet spot. Let's see again so London Open right here. Let's see how much it dropped from London Open. It dropped about 1,200 pips. But this was a little slower. I think if you guys took the trade on Monday, I think Marcus and everyone was like waiting for it to come down. And thankfully we had a sell for London and for US, and then it hit full TP. But yeah, if you just go back in data, you can see, how much it generally moves. And I guess you could do that with NASDAQ too. So if you go to NASDAQ, you go from the, let's see, US session right here at 6 o'clock. And then you can just measure it. So from London Open to London Close, it looks like the sweet spot's about 700 pips. But it's going to vary. So you'd have to go back farther in data to see how does it normally move. But me personally, I just don't have experience with it, so I can't give you a straight answer without me doing my own research. David said, hello, I may have missed your thoughts on NASDAQ, currently in a sell. Oh man, looks like a lot of you guys are in a sell. If Wade gave this call, I wouldn't second guess it because Wade knows what he's doing too. Like he's good at his own strategy, and I'm good at my strategy. So, if he says to sell, then maybe it's a sell. But just me personally, I just don't go against the trend. So who knows? I mean, it might be coming down, might not. It just would really depend. So right here, these are invalid signals. So this is an invalid sell, invalid buy, invalid sell. So the next signal is going to be a buy signal. If it's a valid buy signal, like it is right here, then I'm almost positive that's going to shoot up. So I would keep an eye out for that. If you guys have access to the indicators, just to make sure that it, if you get that valid buy signal, like be very cautious or move your stop loss close. So if it is shoot up, you'll get stopped out at wherever you're at instead of taking like a huge loss. Or if Wade's stop loss is pretty far out, then you guys might be safe. So let's see. Go to the alerts. I'm just gonna try to see if oh, there's Aaron right there. Let's see.
I'll start.
See, this is where I got it from. When I saw this, I was like, man, Aaron's picture is gotta be matching that. So let's see. NASDAQ over here. No, that's Wall Street 30. Wall Street 30. I'm just trying to find dang, Wade took like his sell was like, I don't know when you guys took it, but it looks like it shot up like crazy. Yeah, I don't think Wade has his analysis here for NASDAQ. But yeah, I do see that. I do see his sell over here, and he's saying to hold the sell. So if he's saying hold the sell, then maybe it's a good sell. But me personally, I think it's just a risky trade if there's a buy signal. So if there's a buy signal, then I'd consider it a risky trade. But there's no buy signal yet. So it's literally just going to be, it looks like it's just going to be consolidating for a bit until it either breaks above or shoots below. So I wouldn't freak out just yet. I would hang on to it for a little bit and see how price plays out. About like an hour, a couple hours from now. David said, think it might go up during London session. Yeah, so if we do get a buy signal, then yeah, I do think it'll come up during London session. Sierra said, what are good pairs to trade during Asia session? Being realistic, none, because Asia session is just really, it's just really slow. Like you could even, I mean, if you really wanted to trade during Asia session, obviously the Asian pairs would be best, like the yen, the JPY, or the Australian pairs, because the Australian market is open right now too. They're open until I think like 10 tonight, like 1 to 10, I think, or 1 to midnight, something like that. But yeah, pretty much there's no real good pairs to trade during Asia session aside from the Asia pairs, JPY, but technically they still move really slow. So you have just as much luck trading the JPY pairs and the AUD pairs as you would trading any other pair, because they're not going to move during Asia session, but you're lining up your entry for London session, so that once London session opens, it'll just shoot up like crazy. But yeah, so I think that's it for that. Let's see what else we got here. There's a scalp that I put in for CJ. It's still in, so I'll just hang on to that until it comes down. But let me keep going through the questions. Andrew said, is gold still looking like 33.40? So let me pull up gold real quick. I mean, I never trade gold, so that probably wasn't my call, or it might have been Honest's call. Yeah, if you guys are getting these calls from the different chats, I don't have any knowledge of those, because I know Honest calls some calls. So if you take calls from the price action chat, you might have to check in with Honest regarding those entries, because he trades totally different from me too. So I trade different, Honest trades different, and Wade trades different. We all trade totally differently. So if you ask me to analyze their trade, my analysis might not line up with their entry. So just don't get confused with like my analysis versus Honest's analysis in price action, or Wade's analysis for indices, because we all trade differently. And like I said, there's no one way to trade. But me personally, I like to trade with momentum and in the direction of trend. As you can see here, it works out very nicely. And that's why I continue to trade this direction. Because like right here, we get a buy signal, straight to TP, again right here. And then again right here, I'd say. But let's see. So Andrew said 33.40. So let me just put it. Wait, 33.40. Dang, Andrew, dude, 33.40 is not even on the chart, bro. You think it's gonna come all the way up there? That's probably not gonna happen until like next year, bro. That's a pretty far move up. I don't know if that was a typo or
I made that call.
I don't know. Andrew says gold's still looking like 33.40, but that's like bro, I'm not gonna see that happening until like next year.
Unless you're in like 20.
30, 40 is way up here. Like I don't think this is gonna happen anytime soon. Probably not like for the next 5-10 years, bro. That's way too high for gold to move. Like gold's only moved this high because of COVID. But once COVID starts to flatten out, it's not going to move like how it is right now. People are actually, it's going to come down because, gold is a safe haven currency. When the economy is not doing well, gold's going to go up. But once the economy comes back, gold's going to drop back down because people are going to start selling the gold. I think it was a typo because there's no way that price is going to hit 33.40. I don't know if you meant 23.40, but I mean, even 23.40 is way too high. It's like way up here. Yeah, Andrew, I'm not sure where you saw that call from or where you got that specific number from, but that's like way too high. Even this is way too high. 23.40. Like this probably isn't going to happen for like another, I don't know, probably by the end of the year, because this is the daily chart. So, or maybe in a couple months, maybe. I don't think it's going to push up that far though. So maybe by October or November. Yeah, maybe by November it'll reach this point, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. And I wouldn't bet on it shooting up that high. Oh, Andrew said, okay, he said 3,000. 3,000 is still pretty high though. And I still don't see it happening. Yeah, bro, that number is way off. I don't know if that's another typo. Damn, Aaron, did you see this? It said
Yes, sir.
3,000. Yes, that's way too high. And I don't see that happening for like the next until like until August of next year.
I mean, shit, who knows, man? Shit, I didn't expect gold to hit 2,000. Then it just shot up to 2,000 out of nowhere.
Yeah, this is a big move, bro. This is yeah. I mean, yeah, I could see it shoot up like 1,000 pips, maybe to 3,000, maybe to like not 1,000 pips, actually, maybe like 500 pips. So maybe up here by like October, November. Actually, not even, because dude, look, let's see how much. Okay, this is like, let me go back to a normal time, because COVID is not. I don't think COVID is going to get any worse than it already is. I mean, it's pretty bad as it is, but if we go to a time where, see, you can see right here, price dropped a ton right here. So this is like what could happen once the economy gets better. Price dropped actually like 250 pips. And these are during normal times. But yeah, Andrew, I don't really see it hitting that point. Let me see. Okay, Sierra said 2031. All right, so Brian said 2031. Okay, so this is more realistic. Yeah, I can see this happening right here. Because like I marked up the chart earlier, this is a pivot entry right here. So if that's a price point that Brian was mentioning, 2031, I could definitely see that happening. Because if it rejects off this pivot right here, then you can see it shoot up full TP. Andrew said, bro, I'm high off these paint fumes. No idea where I got 33.40 or 3,000. I meant, okay. Yeah, those numbers are way off, Andrew. So Andrew went from 33.40 to 3,000 to 2050. That seems more realistic. So yeah, looking at price right here, yeah, that's realistic. I could see that happening. I mean, it's kind of it's a push. It's definitely a push, but I could see it happening at some point. So yeah, I think that'd be good. I mean, the full TP right here for this move would have been right here. So that's just a little bit farther up. So technically, yeah, I could see it happening. So maybe by next week after, it just really depends because we have a heavy news week starting tomorrow. We have the OPEC meeting. This is the oil. I think it's oil, right? Yeah. So it's representatives from the 11 oil-rich nations. So depending on that, I mean, that could affect the market. Unemployment claims. There's a lot of different factors that are going to affect the market. And, you know, all this news is going to be bad for the US, you know, due to COVID, obviously. So I could definitely see that push up a little further. So that's good right there. Oh crap, we got 15 minutes. Sorry guys, I'm gonna scan the charts real quick, see if I could find any entries for us. So for this odd CAD, this would be a good entry if it closes above this zone right here. So if it closes above the zone, then I would see that as a buy entry. On CHF, technically this would have been a good entry over here, but I didn't call it because it's too close to the zone right here. So like I mentioned, once price gets near these zones, it could either break above it or it could close, or it could, you know, shoot back down right here and reject right off it. So that's why I don't like taking trades that are too close to the zones, because they're just risky trades to be taking. No entry here for odd JPY, odd NZD. Nothing there. Yeah, I was waiting for a sell signal, because if we got a sell signal and then we got a buy signal after, like we did right here, like I'd expect that to come down, reject off the pivots, and then shoot on up. But we don't have that sell signal yet, so there's no entry there. Our odd USD, looks like our odd USD is about to hit full TP right here for 80 pips. So if you guys are still in it, looks good. CAD CHF. I mean, this has literally just been bouncing around entry. I got out of this trade at TP2, like way over here, because our TP2 is about 25 pips. So when it reached 25 pips over here, I actually moved my stop loss to 25 pips so that when it came down, it stopped me out in profit. So I'm out of that trade, but it's technically still active. This would be a sell entry right here, but just when I looked at it, it just doesn't look like a good trade to take. That's why I didn't take it. Here's our CAD JPY. We still have the sell going right now, so I think it should be good. Yeah, it's still active actually. This is the old entry, so that's good. CHF JPY. See, this would have been a decent entry if there wasn't another zone inside here. So technically I would have, if this zone wasn't here, I would anticipate it to come down here and test this zone before either breaking below or rejecting back up. But since there's a zone right here, I wouldn't take this trade because it might reject right off there. So I'm gonna skip that. Euro odd. This is the one I went over earlier. We had this from last week. I got it at TP1, like I mentioned over here. But if you're still in this trade, it's still active. It's just a very risky trade. But like I mentioned earlier, if price closes above this zone right here, then we can probably see it test this zone. And if it breaks above this zone, see it shoot even further. Like that. So yeah, next pair, Euro CAD. I was gonna call this trade, but like I mentioned, it's really close to the zone right here. You know, last thing I want to happen is we enter this trade, it gets to the zone and then rejects down the opposite direction. So that's why I didn't call that trade. Technically, it'd still be a good entry, but I'm not gonna call it. It's too risky. Euro CHF right here. If this breaks above this zone right here, then it'd be a good entry because I anticipate it to shoot up to the next zone, but that hasn't happened, so no entry there. Euro GBP, I was going to call this trade right here because there's a valid sell entry right there, but like I mentioned, when it gets near these zoned areas, it's probably going to reject off. That's why I didn't call that trade. Man, it looks like there's really nothing to take right now. Euro JPY, the same situation with odd JPY. I wanted a sell signal so that we can get that rejection off that point retracement. And then once we got a buy signal like we did right here, so this is a nice buy right here. If you took this, I think we did call this. It would have been a win for 96 pips. Let me look at over here. So if we look at the trades I called, your JPY, we did hit full TP for that, I think, somewhere over here. Or no, actually, I didn't call that. So that was like last week. Oh yeah, actually, so same entry here. So this entry right here that I have lined up, I called this last week right there, and then we hit full TP for 65 pips. So same situation right here. I would have wanted price to retrace downwards, and then as it shoots back up, I would have wanted to take a buy, but there's no entry available right there. EN, nothing there. EU, yeah, I missed this trade, but technically it's still active. I know a lot of you guys have it, so it should still continue on upwards. Nothing there. I wanted to call this GCAD, but like I mentioned, it's too close to the zone right here. Price is likely to reject off it once it reaches that point. GBP CHF. Yeah, this would have been a good entry right here. I don't know why I didn't call it. Oh, because it was early in the. I forgot what happened, but I didn't call this trade. This would have been an entry here at 6 a.m. I think it just looked too risky for me because I saw the pivots how they were coming down. But technically, this would have been. Oh, actually, no, it was too close to the zone right here. So I wanted to call this trade right here for about 40 pips, but like I mentioned in all the previous analysis, I was worried that if we took this trade, it would reject off this zone right here. I should have called it. We could have made TP1 for halfway. It looks like it would have hit TP1 for 20 pips. But, unfortunately, I was being conservative today, so I didn't call that. GJ, same situation right here. This would have been an entry off this point. But see how price rejected off that area? Generally, when it gets close to the zones, it rejects right off it. So that's why I didn't call this trade. Would have been a decent entry though. GN, it's at entry. We have that active right now. GU's active as well. NC, nothing there. NC as well, nothing there. NJ, nothing there. NU, so a lot of us got out of this trade already. I don't know if anyone's still in this, but it did shoot back, it shot up, but right here it came down and it hit our TP2 for about 30 pips. So when it came down right here, it hit our TP2 right here, or if it didn't hit your TP2, then it came back up and then it came back down. So you had 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 opportunities to move your stop loss at TP2. So if you didn't move your stop loss, then unfortunately you're still in this trade. But that's why I always recommend that you move your stop loss once you reach TP to guarantee profits and to eliminate your risk completely. UCAD from last night, it's still looking good. It's coming down super slow, but that's how UCAD moves. It's just really, really slow. So this will probably hit full TP for 45 pips in a couple hours once we reach London session. Same with USD CHF. We hit TP1 over here. I got stopped out in profit at TP1, but it looks like it's still going to come down. So as it continues down, we might hit TP2 for 29 pips right here by London session. The only valid entry that we have right now is going to be this UJ. And yeah, I'm going to call it. So but I'll just have to wait. We have about 6 minutes left on this candle. So once this candle closes, then I'll call a sell entry here. Just want to see if there's any lower pivot areas that I have to look out for. Okay, so right here. So the lower pivot area is right next to where our likely TP is going to be. So I think that should be fine. Because generally what usually happens is price will spike a little bit, enough to hit our full TP. But then we'll have TP2 set halfway over here for about 45 pips. TP2 will get placed somewhere around here. so that once price reaches this point, once price crosses it, move our stop loss to this point, and then if price ends up rejecting backwards, then we'll get stopped out in profit, guarantee half profit there, which is perfectly fine. You know, it's better to lock in your profits, especially due to our high win percentage. You know, you just keep stacking up those TP2s and then don't lose. As long as you don't lose and you keep stacking up the TPs, you know, you're always going to end up in profit. It's all about risk management. That's the main thing with trading, and the main reason why a lot of people fail at trading is that they don't have their risk management on point. So we got 5 minutes there. Let me see if there's anything else. Any other questions? CD said for the K2SR, how many bars on input? I put 100 bars. So those are the default settings. But you know, it just really depends on how far you want to look back. Me personally, I think 100 candles is good enough if you're trading intraday. Because you know, depending on what time frame you're trading on, I think 100 is fine, because if you're trading on the daily, it's going to go back 100 days. So that's pretty far back. Or if you're trading on the 10-minute, obviously you're scalping. So 100 10-minute candles back is fine if you're scalping. Same with the 4 hours. If you're trading on the 4 hour like I do, 100 4 hour candles back is cool to cover, you know, X amount of time, because you're not planning on holding your trade 100 candles forward. So that's like one way to calculate it. You know, just calculate it from how long you plan on holding the trade. Like for the daily, if you're swing trading and you're trading on the daily, I'm pretty sure you don't anticipate holding it more than 100 days, because that's like what, 3-4 months, unless you plan on holding it for, oh no, not even 3 or 4 months. That's like actually, no, yeah, you're right, it's about 3 or 4 months. You know, unless you plan on holding it for like a year, then maybe you'll expand it to like 200 candles, 300 candles, or actually no, if it's a year, more than 365 candles. But if you're trading it for a couple months, then 100 candles should be fine. It just depends on preference. All right, one more question from DeAnthony. GBP long sell. We're on a buy, DeAnthony. So if you're trying to enter a position for GU, we have a long bias, so I wouldn't take a sell. The trend up is way too strong. Like, I just wouldn't go against this trend. And DeAnthony said, what's the safest 0.01 to trade on a low account? Is DeAnthony still here? Yeah, DeAnthony, for your, I'm kind of confused by your question. What's the safest 0.01? 0.01 is going to be the lowest lot size. So I'm not sure if you're asking, you know, what lot size to use or something else. But yeah, for GU, I'd recommend taking a long position if you're not in this trade already. We did send this in the premium. I think I also sent it in the public chat as well. But we're in a buy. And yeah, if you're on a low account, you should be trading the bare minimum, which would be a 0.01. I wouldn't recommend going anything higher, unless your account can handle it. You know, we always recommend risk management as number one. So you should be trading a 0.01 per 100 bucks. So if you have, you know, 200 bucks, then you can use a 0.02. But if you want to be safe, then you should just keep that at 0.01 until you build that account or deposit more money, because then you'll be risking, you know, more money than you should be, and then you're going to be more stressed out if the trade isn't going in your direction. But yeah, so we have about a minute left, or about 30 seconds. So let me just finish calling this trade right here. How much margin do I have on this account? Damn, I used all my freaking margin. I should have held, because I entered this trade, the KJPY scalp, but I wanted to enter this trade, but I pretty much used up my margin playing around with the other entry. But I'm gonna call this right now. So D said for $1,000 account, a 0.10 would be max. Yeah, so for the most part, that would be your max for, but it would depend on the pair too, because some pairs are worth more than the others. But yeah, generally 1 mini lot would be maximum risk for that specific account size. If you're using proper risk management, nobody, like, it doesn't matter how many times I explain it to people. I know majority of people aren't going to listen to the advice. And that's why a lot of people blow their accounts, because they're risking way more than they should be. But if you're risking 1% per trade, it's going to be nearly impossible for you to blow your account. Like, sure, your profits aren't going to be that big, but you're not going to blow your account. Like, you got to lose like 100 times to lose your account, or maybe not 100 times, but somewhere around there. Let's see. Okay, so USD, JPY. So this is how I call trades. Super simple, guys. That's why a lot of people think I like put so much thought process behind my trades, but in reality, not so much. Because the strategy is so easy. I mean, yeah, for me, it looks like I'm doing everything so quickly, but you guys got to remember that I've been trading for 10 years now. So this is like, it's nothing new to me. I do this all the time. Let's see, 22. So as long as you guys have the strategies down, you could call a trade that quick. It's not that difficult. Yeah, there we go with that. So yeah, I think that's about it. And I'll set my alerts right here. So, whenever I send the updates on the trade, it's because I got an alert. So TP1 plus 22 pips, TP2 plus 25 pips. Full TP is going to be 90 pips. And then obviously stop loss is going to be the opposite. All right, so I got that all set up there. Looks like that's about it. So yeah, guys, it doesn't look like there's any other questions. Or actually, let me see. CT said still in GN, so I pull up GN real quick. Yeah, I'm still, or actually, no. Me personally, I'm not in it, but it's still active. So I think I got it at TP2 for like around 50 pips. Let me check this out. Yeah, I got it a long time ago, bro. Like once it got close to the zone right here, I moved my stop loss to TP2 for 50 pips, and then I got stopped out as it came down. So me personally, I'm not in it, but it still looks like it's gonna shoot on up. The only issue is that it's so close to the zone. That's the reason why I moved my stop loss. If there was no zone there, then I would have just hung on to it. But this is the 8-hour K2SR level, so it's just risky because it's a strong level. But it's around entry point, so technically it's still active. But yeah, guys, it looks like that's it for questions. I don't see anything else in the Q&A. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out on Telegram. I'll be active on there. I'll probably be popping in and out of the chat for a while. But yeah, guys, thanks for showing up. Like I said earlier, I changed the time. So instead of starting at 5 p.m., I started at 4 p.m. That seems to be a better time for more people to hop on. So I'm going to be running this from 4 p.m. until, we're all out of questions. We always end up finishing right on time. So it's about 6 p.m. right now. So we've been on for a little over 2 hours. But yeah, if we have any other questions, I'm more than welcome to stay on, but we're all out of questions for today. So looks like we're going to close the session right on time. But I'll be back on Thursday, same time, 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time. So if you guys have any other questions, feel to reach out. Otherwise, I'll have this on YouTube shortly, and then we'll hop back on this again next week on Thursday, same time. Sierra said, can we do a live scalping one day? Yeah, possibly. I don't really scalp anymore though, so that's the thing. Like before I scalp a lot, so it would make more sense for me to scalp US 30 with you guys. But now that I do the daily US 30 entry, I just don't really scalp anymore. But maybe like one of these days, I'll just hop on during New York session and then we can scalp like we did before. I don't think Sierra was around back then, but we used to have other sessions before where I would like show scalp entries when I used to scalp. Um, but yeah, so maybe sometime this week or sometime next week, we'll just see when the market's good because there's a lot of news this week. Yeah, there's news like all day tomorrow, and there's news Thursday morning. So it's not good times to scalp during then because there's just too much going on and the market's going to be, heavily affected. But maybe next week. So if there's not that much news next week, we can probably actually there's news every day next week. So next week might not be a good time either. Because I just want to come on when it's actually a good time to scalp. I don't want to scalp and then prices like spiking all over the place. But yeah, no, definitely. Maybe one time I'll stay up during London. We could do that. But I think New York session would be good. So maybe next week, if not the week after. But yeah, guys. So thanks for showing up. I'll be in the Telegram if you guys have any questions, and then I'll have this up on YouTube shortly. All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys later.